Seth Floyd Show, live from my bedroom here in the beautiful state of Texas. Tonight, we are talking about why I believe the Cowboys will repeat as NFC East champs. First time in 19... Oh, crap.
What are you doing?
Babe, we talked about this. It was recording my podcast. It's like recording right now.
Another podcast?
Yes, babe.
Gosh, hurry up. I need these dining room chairs back.
Gosh.
Just clean up after.
Tonight, I am going to be telling you why I believe the Dallas Cowboys are going to repeat as NFC East champions. Before we get to that, please like, subscribe to this video, leave a comment. I swear on my life, I will read every comment that is ever posted to this page. I will read it. Even if there's thousands, I will take the time. Your voice will be heard. I'm here for the people. That's why I'm doing this, okay? I know what you're thinking. I'm talking about the Cowboys. I just said I'm from Texas. Clearly, I've got the Texas flag behind me. I don't know if you notice, clearly I'm not a homer, okay? You can see it on my pullover. I got the 49ers here. My flag on my table here, big 49er fan. The Dallas Cowboys are probably my second most hated team behind the Seahawks. But I'm not a homer, okay? I believe in being realistic. I believe in having good takes, even if they're a little bold at times, but that's all right. I still believe in fair, honest evaluations. So last year you had the Dallas Cowboys. They finished at 12-5, and at times in their season looking unbeatable until they ran into the Cardinals, ran into the 49ers. Buffalo had their way with them, and then of course in the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers, who dismantled them pretty handedly. Now, while I was enjoying that game as much as I could, the next week Green Bay was scaring the 49ers. So it was a real competition. It was a real game. It wasn't a it wasn't a terrible opponent. I know that they lost in the wild card round, which looks bad, but Green Bay was playing much better than a wild card team at that time. Now, the offseason, I think most people are thinking the Eagles have had the strongest offseason in the NFC East. And I feel like the Eagles are getting a little too much credit for some of the moves that they made. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit here tonight. Now, the other thing about the Cowboys, the NFC East, possibly repeating as division champs is that hasn't been done in 19 seasons. This is one of the most absurd streaks in all of sports. 19 straight years, they've gone without a repeat champion. In the last few years, it's been Dallas and Philly flipping back and forth. And so I'm going to start there. I think that streak is just meant to be broken. I think all streaks are meant to be broken, and this just feels like it's time. It is going to happen this year. Dallas is going to repeat, and that streak can't live forever. And here's my main reasons why, okay? It starts with the head coach, and it starts with the quarterback. Now, if you're a 49er fan watching this, please don't be laughing at me. Please don't be angry with me, okay? I get it. Mike McCarthy has been the butt of every joke among our fan base. And Dak Prescott has done what he's done in the playoffs. And I get it. Those are real valid arguments, okay? I want to focus more on the Eagles head coach and the Eagles quarterback, okay? No one believes in Nick Sirianni less than myself, okay? I think Nick Sirianni is one of the biggest fraud coaches. And Eagle fans, I'm sure you already don't like me because I have 49er stuff on, so I'm not real worried about hurting your feelings. And I don't know how you could feel good about Nick Sirianni after this last season. Let's look at the Eagles' tenure since Nick Sirianni's been there, okay? He was there. He took the job. They had a rough beginning of the year when he was calling plays in 2021. As soon as he switched, as soon as he gave the play calling up to Shane Steichen, okay, that's when things started to turn around for Jalen Hurts, okay? Then in 2022, they go to the Super Bowl, and both coordinators leave, okay? Steichen and Gannon. Now, you get to 2023. 10-1, sure, that's very valid, and that's what people are going to come at me with. They were 10-1, but winning some very close games against some very bad opponents. Almost lost week 1 to the Patriots, won in overtime to the Commanders. A handful of these games where they felt like the luckiest 10-1 team we'd seen in a while. And then, of course, they got the doors blown off them by the 49ers, and they went on to lose 6 of 7, okay? Now, we don't know what the Eagles are going to be with Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Now, Kellen Moore is a formidable coach. Does he fix all their problems on offense that they had this past year? I don't know. He might. He very well could, but it's far from a slam dunk. And I don't care who the coordinator is, okay? It's questionable to have Sirianni at the top. It just is. He can't provide much. What is he providing? Culture? He's definitely not a good culture guy. He might get guys rah-rahed up and excited, but he's kind of a child out there. Well, I guess what's burned in my brain is that clip. I know you guys have seen it. I know you've seen it. Maybe I can pull it up for you at some point. You've seen it where they're on a timeout. Nick Sirianni is talking with Jalen Hurts on the sideline, and all of a sudden he looks across the sideline and he's flipping somebody the bird over there, and Jalen Hurts had to be the man to tell him to stop. Like, absolute child, man. I just can't believe in a guy that behaves like that. It's not that he's not going to win some games. Clearly they've won some games. But to think that he's the dude, the answer to, like, take your team over the hump, especially if you don't have these rock star coordinators, which Steichen and Gannon were apparently amazing coordinators because of look what they're doing in Indianapolis. Look what Steichen's doing in Indianapolis, and even the Cardinals last year with Gannon were very formidable, tough outs, beat the Cowboys, okay, beat the Eagles. So I'm thinking Sirianni is a fraud as a coach. I just do. And maybe Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio are going to help them turn around. They might, but I don't think it's going to be enough to reclaim the top of the NFC East, okay? My other thing is Jalen Hurts, okay? I think Jalen Hurts is a decent quarterback as long as he can run the football, okay? We think back to 2022, their year they went to the Super Bowl, and I even remember a lot of MVP talks. But go look at his stats for that year. Go look at them. He had 22 touchdown passes. In fact, his career high was in 2023 with 23 touchdown passes and 15 picks, okay? That does not scream franchise quarterback to me. I know he gets a lot of love, deservedly so, because he can run the ball well. The tush push is unstoppable, okay? But now you don't have Jason Kelce. That's going to cause impact. I know they still have a good offensive line. Lane Johnson and the other dude, I can't pronounce his name, the Polynesian dude on the other end, okay? Very formidable offensive line. But Jalen Hurts, I don't believe is ever going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't believe that about him. Now, he could prove me wrong, and great. If he proves me wrong, if he throws for 35 touchdowns this year and 4,000 yards, that's the other thing. The most he's ever thrown for is 3,800 yards. Like, they are not relying on this dude to be their franchise guy. Not really, but they're going to have to. Last year, I think he was a little banged up, so he wasn't running the ball as well. So maybe he'll get back to that a little more this year and be just as effective, and I don't know. But I'm just saying, from my outlook, I don't think that it's going to happen. I do want to know, I think Jalen Hurts is an incredible player. I think he's an incredible teammate. I think he's an incredible leader. I really do. But I don't think he has enough talent in the pocket to really get it done. Maybe he does. Maybe prove me wrong. He's got a beautiful deep ball. But, man, he got exposed last year. And he's never really had like this huge breakout season if you take away his legs. So those are kind of where I'm starting out. Now, let's flip it back to the Cowboys, okay? So if you're an Eagles fan, you're looking at me right now, or even 49ers fan, you're like, look, Seth Floyd, you are talking crazy, okay? I understand that Mike McCarthy has his limitations, and he's going to do some head-scratching things. But they've won 12 games 3 straight years. Every year Mike's been there, they've won 12 games. Now, we're not talking about playoffs right now, okay? The NFC East Championship, or champion, is decided before the playoffs. So I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm not talking about Dak's playoff struggles. We get that, okay? And in some big games, he's going to make some mistakes. But Dak played great last year. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. He played great. The stats showed it. Of course, there was some garbage time. Of course, they blew out some teams. But when you watch the games, he had a great year. And it was the first year under Mike McCarthy. So there's no reason for me to expect that he can't do it again. I think that's a little of my hesitation with the Eagles. I don't know what to expect with Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore. It might be really good. It might just be more meh. Kellen Moore was all right with Justin Herbert, but the Chargers were not blowing the doors off of teams. That a large part was due to their defense, but there's a reason Kellen Moore was given the boot in Dallas, and obviously Brandon Staley was fired in Los Angeles this past year, so that's not Kellen Moore's fault, but I just don't know. There's just so much unknown, okay? Vic Fangio, great coordinator in his day. He's still a great coordinator, I'm sure. But some of the talk of some of the Dolphins players, as Vic Fangio got the boot in Miami, like not positive. So I'm wondering if maybe he is aged himself out maybe he is not connecting with guys, these younger generations. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll come in and have the best defense in the league. Like, I think that's on the table, but I also think it's on the table that Philly is like the number 15 defense. They had a lot of problems in the secondary. I know they signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson again. They signed Devin White to play linebacker, so like those are improvements. But I think these coordinators are far from slam dunks. You're not gonna be the worst team in the league. There's a high floor with these coordinators, but I don't know how much else you're getting from them. Okay, so Dak with Mike McCarthy was incredible last year. Part of that they had to because they couldn't run the ball. And yes, I understand they're probably not going to run the ball very well again this year. It's going to be a lot of Zeke, a lot of Rico Dowdle. You're probably going to see a lot of Deuce Vaughn. None of that strikes fear into anybody. But here's one way I think Zeke is going to help the Cowboys, okay? In 2023, Dallas was the 12th ranked team in the red zone, okay? They converted on 58% of their attempt. 58% of the time when they got into the red zone, they scored, okay? That was 2023. Not bad, but definitely room for improvement. In 2022, they were number one, converting on 71% of their red zone trips. So I think Zeke is a difference maker in the red zone. I think he is. I don't even remember that clip last year against Buffalo. You had Tony Pollard got the ball. I don't know if it was I can't remember if it was a swing pass or if it was like an outside zone play or what. But it looks like he's got tons of room to lower his shoulder and just glance off a defender and fall into the end zone. And he gets stuffed. And then the next play there was a fumble, and I think they didn't feel like they could rely on Tony Pollard in the red zone. I think that was a common thing. I think you're going to see Zeke do most of his work, one, pass protecting. He's going to do a lot of that. He's a hefty boy. He's was very effective at it in New England, and he was great in the red zone for New England last year. I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see Dallas be ultra conservative in the red zone. They will do certain things. They're going to look for CD in the red zone, of course, but you're going to see a much heavier dose of Ezekiel Elliott. And if you could just go from 12th to, I don't know, 6th or 5th, if you could go from converting 58% of the time to 63, 65% of the time, that is going to pay dividends for Dallas, okay? Speaking of running back signings, I have to touch on this, okay? I need to touch on this. Saquon Barkley, first off, is probably my favorite non-49er in the NFL. I love him. Loved him in college. I've loved every snap he's taken with the Giants. He's been phenomenal. Sure, he's not a perfect back. Okay, probably could pass protect better. I know he's taken some criticism on that. But he is like genetically, if you could, in a lab, genetically engineer someone to be a running back, you would create Saquon Barkley. Okay, he's explosive. He's thick lower body, he does it all. It's incredible, okay? But I'm not sure how much better that signing really makes the Eagles, okay? Now, I'm not saying Saquon's not amazing, because he is. But I remember watching the Eagles last season, and I said Deontay Johnson. He's not a running back. DeAndre Swift, okay, last season, his 1 year in Philly, when they started feeding the rock to him, he was electric. I felt like early in the season, every time he was getting the ball, he was going for 10, 12 yards. It was incredible. And I started to think, is this guy like a top 5 running back in the league? Was he just like banished in Detroit and they just never used him right? And he really is that good. I mean, he's from Georgia, so we know how they produce running backs. That's what I thought. I don't think the Eagles' problems last year were because of DeAndre Swift. That was not their issue. They had issues in the pass game. Jalen didn't play as well. They turned the ball over a lot. A.J. Brown wasn't happy early in the season. Head-scratching moves by their offensive coordinator, who's no longer there. He's no longer there. I get it. I'm not sure how much better Saquon makes the Eagles. I think he makes them better. I think that, of course, because he's a better running back. But DeAndre Swift was explosive, and he was effective on the ground. Saquon's it's gonna look similar. Now maybe they'll be more willing to rely on Saquon. Maybe for some reason they weren't willing to feed DeAndre Swift. That could have been the A.J. Brown effect, where he's complaining on the sidelines about not getting the football. Maybe that's why they would go away from DeAndre Swift as much as they did. But I think that it's going to be similar. You're going to look and you're going to say, man, I'm happy that Saquon's on our team, but I don't think that's the kind of move that puts you over the hump. I just don't. I think that Philly still has, I've already talked about this. They have questions on defense. I loved their Cooper DeJean. I can't remember. I'm not positive which. I've said it both ways. I've heard people say it both ways. But in the second round was one of the best picks of the draft. If I'm being honest, I was hoping the Niners were going to take him at 31. They didn't. I think he's really good. But I'm not sure that you can rely on him as a rookie to put you over the hump. I think that's a scary situation. I'm not super versed on previous draft classes if they have guys on the bench that can step up, but they had maybe the worst secondary in the league last year. So there's a lot of question marks. I think with Dallas, you know what you're getting. Okay, I know what you're getting. I would take Dak over Jalen Hurts. For some reason, that's controversial. Actually, I think Emmanuel Acho said that today on whatever show he's on. I think it's on Fox. I'm not sure, but he was saying the only thing Jalen Hurts does better than Dak is the read option, and I agree. I really do. Jalen might have a better deep ball if that's the only thing. He's got time to throw. You got a guy open. He has a really pretty deep ball. But Dak has done it for multiple seasons. So I'm just riding with that guy. And I know what I'm getting with Mike McCarthy and Dak together. Okay? I do. There's going to be some amazing games. CD's going to have a couple 200-yard games. And then they're going to have some duds as well. But so are the Eagles. The Eagles are going to have some duds. And that division isn't getting any easier as well. I'll do another episode or video about that. But Washington is no slouch. I don't know what the Giants are doing, but I think Washington's gonna come up and be pretty strong this year. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be more formidable than they were this past season. They had a good roster, just kind of an inept, burnt out Ron Rivera. I think that I'm not huge on Dan Quinn, but I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to strike some energy into that offense. I think Jaden Daniels could be pretty good. They have receivers. They've got some talent. They have some talent, is all I'm saying. So I don't think they're going to be pushovers. We'll get to the Giants in another episode. I do want to talk about them. And lastly, I'm just going to end it with this. Okay, I'm going to end it with this. We are not talking about the playoffs. And I'm not talking about that game in San Francisco on Sunday Night Football, okay? I'm riding with my Niners. They let me down. Huge in the Super Bowl. Been crying about that. I'm still crying about it. So if that makes you happy, great. But I know how we play against Dallas. I know how Dallas looks at us. I live outside of Dallas, okay? Every radio station is talking about the Cowboys. And you'd be surprised. Even when the Niners are not playing the Cowboys that week, the 49ers get brought up every single week. We are their measuring stick. They look at us like their older brother. I am not talking about that game. We are going to handle business against them. But we're talking about the NFC East. That streak is going to die. It's not going to hit 20 years. There will be a repeat champion. And as much as it pains me to say, it's because I like Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott more than I like Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. But maybe I'm wrong. You tell me, okay? I'm telling you, put in the comments. I will read the comments. We will talk about this. I might have to edit it if you're going to drop a lot of expletives. I'm not going to swear on my show, but I will make sure your voice and your opinion is heard. Otherwise, keep looking for the video, like, subscribe, and yeah, let's have some fun on this show.